Shopper, so buy the high stuff and the low stuff and everything in between. All right, Adam, don't miss Adam on the Fox Business Network. If you're not sure exactly where to find it, you can log on to foxbusiness.com, channel finder. Also like the online shopping, that's the easiest.
Yeah,
Can't beat that.
I'm all about online. A woman who admits killing her estranged husband is now on trial for murder. Anita Smithy says he was viciously attacking her when she shot him. Prosecutors tell a different story, that she managed the scene, including stabbing herself. So is this a case of murder or self-defense? Let's bring in our legal panel. Ashley Merchant, a criminal defense attorney. Dan Schorr is a former prosecutor. Strange story. This couple had been married a couple of years. Then apparently things were going south. They were headed toward divorce, but they were still getting together on an almost daily basis to engage in, what married couples do. She says that she admits that they were having consensual sex, but then she said it ended that night. She got up, took a shower. Then she says he threw her back on the bed and essentially starts to rape her. So she shot him. Ashley, is that grounds? I mean, is there justification there for a murder?
Definitely. Definitely, and it comes down to what the jury believes. If the jury believes her and thinks that she is credible, then they're justified in finding her not guilty. And so it's going to come down to whether or not they believe her story and her allegations of prior abuse, because there have been allegations that he was rough with her in the past. Maybe they liked rough sex. There's some allegations of that, but that he took it a step too far and that he was violent with her in the past. So it's going to come down to whether or not the jury thinks that she's credible and her story is credible about that abuse.
Well, the credibility, Dan, comes into question because she told police that the stab wound that she had in her side was inflicted by her estranged husband. Then after questioning for a while, she admitted that she did it to herself. Doesn't that suggest that she staged this whole thing?
Yeah, she has some credibility problems. One, as you said, she originally said that she was stabbed by her estranged husband. Then she said that she did it to herself. But now she's saying that she only said that because the police were badgering her to say that, and that wasn't really true. There's also an issue about her originally saying that she shot him by accident, now saying that it was intentional because it was in self-defense. There's also the issue of the first responder who says the body was cold when he got there, meaning that the body might have been dead for an hour or more. On the other side, though, she does have injuries. She has vaginal injuries. She has a chipped tooth. She has bruises, scratches. So she was hurt in this encounter. There's compelling facts on both sides.
So, Ashley, what do you do? I mean, if it's up to the jury to sort this out, it's a very complicated case. And again, it could go either way. Now, she is not charged with first-degree murder. It's a second-degree murder case, right?
Right. And what you've got to do is you've got to explain to the jury why a person would tell the police different versions of events. Why would she change her story? Because that really does undermine her credibility. How she said that, well, I don't remember how I was stabbed. I don't remember if he's the one that did it. Oh, wait, I actually stabbed myself. That really undermines her story. And so she's got to explain and sort of put the jury in her mind as to what she was going through when she was being interrogated for hours on end by the police and why she would give different versions of the events of that night. Because that's what really undermines her credibility.
But Dan, can she argue, self-defense when admittedly they were having consensual sex before this incident?
Absolutely. If they were having consensual sex and then it turned violent, that he got violent, and she had alleged violence against him in the past. So if he was being violent, she then had to defend herself. If that's true, then absolutely, she could use deadly force. She could shoot him and kill him if there's an imminent threat of serious physical injury or death from him. Now, the question the prosecution has to answer is what would be her motive to shoot him if it was not self-defense? Motive is not an element of the crime, but a jury's going to want to understand why would she do this if she did shoot him without it being self-defense.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. In the meantime, we want to talk about another story and a name that we haven't heard in a while. Chandra Levy, the Washington intern who disappeared in May of 2001. Now, the man convicted of killing her is asking for a new trial. His lawyers claim that his former cellmate lied on the stand. So, Ashley, from what you know of this case, Ingemar Gwandike is the immigrant who has been convicted in her murder. He had a cellmate, a gang member, who testified against him, said that he didn't want anything, but in fact, he did ask for something from authorities.
Right. They always want something, John. I mean, there is no way that this man just came forward out of his own good grace and out of what he thought was right or wrong to testify against this man. He clearly wanted something. And the real question in this case is whether or not the government knew that, and whether or not they knew that he wanted something, he had asked for something, and whether or not there was information that they were required to turn over about that. Because once he testified as their witness, if they know that he was lying or they have information that's contradictory to what he was testifying to, they've got to disclose that. They've got to disclose it to the defense. They've got to disclose it to the court. And so that's the real issue in this case, whether or not they knew that information, they knew there were those specific instances that undermined his credibility, and whether or not they supplied that information to the people that they were required to.
His attorneys are also saying, Dan, that this cellmate supposedly didn't know how to, or had claimed that he didn't know how to come forward to authorities, with information. But in fact, he had testified in earlier criminal cases. He was apparently involved in some criminal cases, some gang activity out in California.
Right, and that's the question here, because we know that he testified that he didn't know how to come forward to authorities, and that was part of how he told his story, and that added to his credibility. The fact that he actually had been an informant before undermines that. And as Ashley said, the question is, did the prosecutors know that, or should they reasonably have known that? If not, I don't think the defense wins on this issue. If the prosecution did know about it, that's a different story.
So what happens? I mean, do they throw out the conviction altogether? Do they have a new trial? How does this work out, Ashley?
What's most likely is the judge would give them a new trial. If the judge believes that this information is important, that it's relevant, and that it could have changed the actual outcome of the trial, then the judge has a duty to grant a new trial. And they might be faced with having to have a new trial with or without Morales testifying. But if he does testify again, the defense at least would be able to cross-examine him on all this information and bring that out in front of a jury.
Ashley Merchant and Dan Schorr will let our viewers know what happens in that case. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A river of lava in Hawaii claiming even more land now. We'll tell you where.